This past winter, I took 30 young adults on a yatra to Bharat. And in one portion, we were in Siruvani, in Tamil Nadu. And while we were there, as part of our cord exposure, Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development Exposure, we all got onto a small bus, and this bus pulled into a compound, probably the size of where you're sitting, not including the stage, or maybe the whole room. And what it was, a betel nut compound, where they have these fresh betel nuts, and people sit with a straight blade like this, and they push it this way, then they flip it around and they push it another way, and discard the fleshy part, keep the seed, and they throw it into the middle, and it gets dried there. And in this compound, 75% of the space was to dry those nuts, and 25% of the space was where people lived. How many people? 300. 300 people lived in this area. Born there, raised there, dying there. And their rooms, imagine just fiberglass, a fiberglass edge all around. And in between that, just a sheet. So between my house and then my neighbor's house, there's just a tablecloth there, essentially. And we were seeing the people that live there, and we were pointed out that a lot of the infants, the kids, have scabies. Scabies is a parasite that gets in the webs of your fingers and your hands, and it gets in there, and it's so annoying, you keep scratching, but then that gets infected. And a lot of the infants, they can't sleep at night because the mosquitoes, they just keep biting and biting and biting. And as the young adults were there and they were observing all of this, they couldn't help but cry, be silent, take time for themselves. And then we left there, and that evening we had a debrief. And I shared with them, why were you crying? And they shared why. What are your tears going to do for the people who are struggling in that compound? Are your tears going to do anything for them? Are your tears going to do anything for you? There is a vast difference between apathy, sympathy, and empathy. What is apathy? These are words we use very casually, but there's a deep implication to these words, especially in the context of fear. Apathy is hatred. Why hatred? See, an ignorant person, if I'm ignorant of your problems, really you can't blame me because I don't know you have problems. I'm ignorant. But someone who's apathetic, I know you have problems and I still ignore them. I just don't care. That is an expression of hatred. And nobody in this room is apathetic. The more evolved being is sympathetic. I know you have problems. I'm concerned about your problems, but I'm more concerned about my problems. A sympathetic person is someone who lives in fear. They're in their comfort zone, and never in another person's comfort zone. Many of us are there. Empathy, I know you have problems, I'm concerned about your problems, and I will do whatever I can for your problems. That is love. Empathy is love. And here is where we're aspiring to go, aspiring to be, is living a life of love. And we've already heard that the opposite of love is not hatred, the opposite of love is fear. These are Gurudev's words, because we always imagine it's hatred, but it's not, it's fear. Every day we read the news, we listen to the radio, and we feel for the people in this city, in that city, in far off countries. What are you feeling? Not apathy. Are you feeling sympathy? Are you feeling empathy? Because if it's sympathy, there's more to grow. Empathy, there's not. You're living a life of fearlessness. That is your nature. We get stuck in sympathy because vices exist and are empowered when we focus on separation. Exist and are empowered when we focus on separation. Think of it practically. Can you be jealous of yourself? No, because there's no separation in you. Can you be arrogant to yourself? You tell yourself, you do so many things for yourself. You can't. But as soon as there's separation, you can be jealous of another person. You can be arrogant in front of another person. So when the focus is separation, vices are bred there. Vices thrive there. And it makes us fearful, bhaya. It makes us sad, shoka. So what do? When we're afraid, one of our primary strategies is go to sleep. Right? Whenever something's wrong in my life, oh, I need to take a nap now. I'm done today. I'm just going to sleep. Because all of it goes away and we drift into that temporary oneness. Even with our spouse, suppose we had a fight before we went to sleep and we go to sleep, there's no fight there, correct? But as soon as you wake up, who gave you permission to go to sleep? I was up thinking about all the things I was going to say to you and you went to sleep. Now you stay awake and you sit here. It's temporary oneness. Temporary cessation of separation. Others resort to alcohol. Others resort to intoxicants like drugs, working, vacations, purchasing. NPR. NPR is one of my gurus. Not my Sadguru, but one of my gurus. Because I have to drive so much, so I may as well learn something. And what NPR was teaching me recently was, you should never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. You will only buy junk food. And you should never go shopping when you're angry, unhappy, any of those kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Because you will buy things that you do not need. You should go grocery shopping, you should go shopping with a list. Go in like a shield. I'm coming to buy this. Check them off and then run away before those things attack you. Temporary oneness or temporary delay of vice. You go to a therapist. When you're angry, go for a walk. Take a cold shower. Count to 10. Hold your breath till you pass out. But it doesn't go anywhere. After my shower, then back to anger. I just wasted all of that water. Correct? Temporary. Vedanta doesn't care for temporary. For a dharmic person, there is no gap, or they're trying to eliminate all gaps between themselves and their family members and the community and the society and humanity and even past humanity to divinity, animals, plants, etc. Paul McCartney has shared, the greatness of a nation is measured by how? How a nation treats their animals. It's fine to treat people well. We see that resemblance, but to treat an animal in the same way, to treat a plant in the same way, that is a greatness of a nation. Vices. But a dharmic person is someone who is trying to integrate their own personality, their mind and intellect, and trying to integrate themselves with all else. What is the 13th samskara in our tradition? The most popular samskara. Vivaha. We'd like to think it's Upanayana, but it's not. It's Vivaha. Upanayana, see, you can't get married unless you have your upanayana, so you're calling the priest anyways, you may as well get that done too. Shotgun, you get both rituals done together. Vivaha, and what vivaha means, visheshena vahati. Vahati means to lift up. Visheshena means in a special way, in an exceptional way. That's what our marriages should be doing to our personalities, is lifting us up from vices to virtues. Dharma, responsibilities, is the same way. From separation, where there's fear grows in separation, I lift myself up from that separation to virtues. Love, compassion, patience, and so on. And that's why our Shastra says, Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. The one who practices the development of virtues is protected by that and is capable of protecting others. And so, the solution to the symptoms, the solution to the source, is the development of virtues. You're all waiting for a trick on how to be fearless, weren't you? There's no trick. If fear is the vice, practice the opposite. Substitute it with virtues. In our Shastra, there's 3 very profound S's that we should know about. We start off with sadhya. Sadhya is the goal. Sadhya is the ends. And what is that for you and I? Being happiness. Sadhana is the road, is the means, is the path to the sadhya. Now, what is our sadhana to get to happiness? Any and all virtues. If one studies Srimad Bhagavad Gita, peppered throughout the scripture are sections about people who are realized, sections on which virtues you should practice. Amanitvam madambitvam. Right? To be humble, to not be ostentatious. Virtues. And now think. This past Friday, I spoke at another organization's event called Finding Happiness Through Service. It was a very secular event. I had to wear pants, my tilak was smaller, and so on and so forth, because I had to make everyone comfortable. And I was sharing there, Seva is not an event, it's a movement. Because if Seva is an event, it starts and it finishes. But a movement starts, but it never ends. Seva is not something that you do, Seva is a lifestyle. And after I finished speaking, then there was a panel discussion with a lot of eminent leaders of a certain community. Deans of medical schools and VPs of investment banks and so on. And when the same question was posed to them, they were sharing that I do service because I see the smile on that person's face. I do this service because this person appreciates me for this and this and this reason. And it really made me think that real happiness is virtues. It's not if someone appreciates you or acknowledges you. Because if you play that game, can you ever win that game? I find many times when people are being acknowledged, tomorrow evening someone may say, we appreciate that person and that person and that person. And what are we all doing? Waiting for our name to be called. Even if we did nothing, we moved a chair for ourselves. I did something too. But if I'm doing service for that reason, then I'm not doing service. Service, being able to serve is the fruit. Patience is the fruit. Sadhana. And anyone who's trying to be a better person, they can call themselves a sadhaka, meaning someone who's walking. But if I don't try to be a more virtuous person, I can talk about the Hindi movie Sadhak, but I can't call myself sadhaka then, because I'm not on the road. I'm not on the path. What's really interesting about this is that all of us have virtues. Every single person in this room, even those who I don't know at all, I'm publicly telling you that you have many virtues. However, we're not tapping those virtues. Put in the dictionary the difference between ability and capability. And what will you get? They're the same. But in philosophy, we all have ability, but capability is capturing that ability. And when you capture it, you can use it. But if you don't capture your ability, you can't use it. For all of the people who are in businesses and you deal with logistics, if you don't know you have inventory, you can't sell that inventory. But if you know you have the inventory, you can possibly sell that inventory. And Tulsidasji shares this in a different way. He says the way that a vanik is someone who lives for money, a merchant. The way a vanik thinks about his or her business, if they only thought about Lord Rama in the same way, that person would be enlightened. The way that we're attached to our children, imagine we can attach to Bhagavan Ganesha in the same way, enlightened. You know who told Tulsidasji? His wife. She said, the way that you crave my body and my being, if you only had that same craving for the perfect being, you would be perfect. And that rocked his world. He went from Tulsidasji, the ordinary Brahmana, to Tulsidasji, who has darshan of Bhagavan Rama, Bhagavan Lakshmana, and so on. So we can do it. We just have to direct ourselves. And I was sharing the same with all of our students here. I had mentioned that if we watch a movie like The Dark Knight or Inception, will your back hurt? Will you be hungry? Will you have to go to the bathroom? No, for sure not. Are we watching? Then why is it in my class when I'm speaking you always have to go to the bathroom? Why do you always have to fill up your water at that time when I'm about to explain this? We know how to concentrate. We just don't want to. And the problem is not lack of concentration. I actually feel it's deeper. It's lack of interest. We all know how to concentrate on what we like. Virtues, if you want to know how virtues can be lived and practiced, observe children. Children are such pure beings. You see that they're fighting with each other for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes after that they're hugging each other. Right? Totally living in the present. They're so giving. You know, when they're eating their lunch and they're looking at, hey, what do you have over here? You want to trade? Do you ever trade lunch with someone? When you go to your office, do you trade with them? Right? I'm eating my food and my food only. Let's just share things. No, you order your food, I'll order my food. And why that's so special is because we have these fancy notions of where Bhagavan is. Bhagavan is virtues to the infinite measure. Vivek is virtues to a highly finite number. Bhagavan is virtues to an infinite measure. And doesn't that make Bhagavan more approachable, more practical? I don't know if you know this or not, but tomorrow all of the students, dressed in their fine Indian clothes and their chandan and their vibhuti, they're all going to the Lincoln Memorial. And they're going to see great Abe, or honest Abe, virtues, right? Abraham's not important, the honesty is important. And then their project is to go and educate the people about what Sanatana Dharma is. They're not going to convert anyone, okay? And they're going to be safe. But they're going to approach people and say, we have a project to clear notions, false notions about Sanatana Dharma. I had heard that something recently happened at George Washington University where people were misinterpreting a certain symbol. and it caused this ruckus. But with knowledge, there's no misinterpretation. So tomorrow will be, and I'm just going to be watching. I'm going to be walking. Do you know these people? I don't know them at all. What are they doing? I came here by myself. I'm a Canadian. Bhagwan, yes, is Lord Shiva. Who is Lord Shiva? Virtues in full measure. Compassionate, loving, disciplined. The three eyes of Bhagwan Shiva. Justice, compassion, wisdom. Aren't those virtues that we would like? Justice, compassion, and wisdom? You don't have to have a third eye. Your third eye is wisdom. The more that we have vices in our personality, the more egotistical we are, the more insecure we are. And I want you to pay attention to that word, insecurity. We all know when we're insecure. We think other people don't know, but they know too because they're insecure and they pick up on those signs. Why the insecurity? Because of ego. Why the ego? It's expressed as vices. And when we have more insecurity, we have more fear. Someone who's insecure is always looking around. What is that person saying about me? Why can't that person sit with me? What are people looking at me as I'm getting my food and so on? But for someone who's secure, you keep thinking about whatever you want to think. I'm sitting by myself. I'm paying attention. It's a very wasteful life to live insecurely. Look at Ravana. Ravana and Bhagwan Rama were both great. How did Ravana achieve his greatness? By suppressing everyone. Mandodari is known to be one of the most beautiful women in history. And where are his eyes? On another man's wife. And not an ordinary man, a prince, a king's wife. His brother, Vibhishana, means the one who's without fear. And that made Ravana insecure. I don't want you around here. Go. His own father, Lord Rama, was great by lifting everyone up. The squirrels, the monkeys, the bears, everybody. Look at Duryodhana. Insecure, trying to pull down Dronacharya. Bhishmacharya? He shouldn't even be allowed to talk to Bhishmacharya. Whereas you see Yudhishthira, he's praising every warrior. Drishtadyumna, without you, we couldn't have won. Arjuna, without you, we couldn't have won. Charioteer, without you, we couldn't have won. So secure. Yudhishthira, the one who's firm while living. He accepted he made a mistake with gambling. Never denied it. He accepted it. This is my atonement. And he did it cheerfully. His brothers would nag him. Why did you do this? Look at the suffering that you're causing me. And he would never be shaken. This is the past. I accepted it. What is the point of you being negative right now? Let us be together. Virtues allow us to access our ego. Like a lock. If you can't access the lock, you can't get what's inside. The ego is locked up, what our nature is. So we need to access that. Only virtues can take us there. But as you become more virtuous, something happens. You become more vulnerable too. And that's also what makes us afraid. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. However, the more vulnerable we are, the more mindful we are, the more receptive we are. That's why when we see our guru, we prostrate flat. I am making myself vulnerable to whatever way that you are going to guide me. But someone who sees the guru and stands up straight, I'm your equal. I'm not making myself vulnerable. That means I'm not receptive to you. How to think is emphasized again and again and again as we develop virtues. And this forum is more important than Montessori and Kumon and any of our workplaces or any of our universities, because we give such priority to learn this, go there, attend this, train this, etc., etc. But our education is going like this. But our education has to be closed. There has to be a closed loop there to feel complete. That doesn't happen till we learn how to think. A problem with our education system presently is short-term testing. Tomorrow, when you come in, you will all be given a sheet of paper where you'll have to answer certain questions. Okay? And you will all study well and you'll all do well. Then suppose there's a bonus satsang on Friday, and you walk in and the same sheet is given. You got 90% on Thursday, what are you going to get on Friday? 60%, 55%. Why? We study for a mark. We do not study anymore for knowledge. Why do we go to school? To get out of school. Why do we go to work? To retire early. We know what to think, we don't know how to think. And satsang trains us. Someone who has learned how to think invites fear into their life. They invite fear, and when they're afraid, they see whether they react or they respond. Reacting, unthinking. Responding, with thinking. Invite fear into your life and see, do you react or do you respond? If someone comes with a hammer and hits my knee, my knees are young enough that it'll just kick out. I can't stop it. But if someone tests my peripheral vision and those red dots come on the screen, I have to press that button. It's conscious. That's my response. This is a reaction. That's a response. Invite fear and test yourself. How do you face fear? Do you run? Do you rise? Symptoms, sources, solutions. Tomorrow, our focus will be on resolutions. What's the difference between solution and resolution? A resolve that I will move on this. I had once shared a satsang on we can, we must, we will. And at the end, I was in the mood, so I said, we can! And everyone else yelled, we can. I said, we must! Everyone said, we must. I said, we will! And then one person in the front goes, we wish. 1 hour of speaking completely wasted with two words. Tomorrow our focus will be resolutions. What will we resolve to change to adapt and transcend fear?